Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanov. You all know I love talking about new musicals, and today's guest, I feel, loves to do this just as much. She's been involved with Mercury Musicals and the Musical Theater Network and Beam in the UK. Let's just jump right in and start talking new musicals and welcome Ellen Burgin to the show. Ellen, hello.
Hello, how are you? This is an Australian accent, despite all my British work experience.
We're used to that. That happens all the time. Musical theater is a global thing, right? So
as it should be.
Wherever.
It's the most connected art form, so why not be the most connected global landscape?
Exactly.
Of course.
So I start every one of my interviews the same because we want to get to know who you are. So in 30 seconds, who is Ellen?
And right, okay, let's do this. I am a dual qualified and dual art formy kind of person. So what I do is twofold for everything. I'm a career kind of marketing, communications, press, publicity, media professional, social media, all that, and business. So I'm doing a business degree. I've done producing courses and so on. I'm then also a two art form kind of person in that my specialist is new musicals worldwide and fringe festivals. And then what else do I do? I love musicals. I love books. I love wearing rainbows and colors. And I just really love talking about like art forms and so on, but whichever way I end up doing it, my whole thing is about supporting artists do their best work. So I go, let me do the business bits, let me do the organizing or the management or the producing or the marketing or the sales or the whatever. I think I long ago decided I wasn't meant to be on the stage. I was very, very good at the fan kicks behind the tree set piece community theatre production for the love of it, and decided that I didn't have the extraordinary resilience and passion and talent and training that everyone else in performing did. I'm the odd duck of my family. I'm the artsy one, and my family are scientists and computer programmers and management people, and I was the odd one out. But I did begin in theatre. I was typecast when I was 5 to be Dorothy because I had the hair for it, and I've run with that ever since, really. And it obviously sparked a lifelong love of theatre and very, very shiny footwear. And here I find myself, I've kind of worked and lived and traveled around the world. I have worked in, Australia, Singapore, Vietnam, a little bit in France, and now the UK. I've popped up in international conferences like Nantes, where Jean-Paul and I were last week. And then I go where things are interesting and where the work takes me. But I just love hearing about other artists and what they love to do and how they do it. And I really, really love musical theatre a lot. Like a lot. Especially new musicals, like the space where new stories come to life. That's the magic there.
Perfect. That was 35 seconds, I think.
Good time. Never.
So you say your family, well, I'm going to take it back a little bit before we talk into new music and stuff. So your family is computer science and not arts people. So how was that being the black sheep, the odd duck, the black swan of the family, or whatever you want to call it?
I still am. Comparatively, my younger brother is I never get this right. I believe he's a biochemist. Okay. And he's a PhD candidate. And his honors project was to solve stroke, like when you have a stroke and so on, or mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. That's his, I don't know. Yeah. And my parents met at a computer programming course back in the 80s, when that was new and hip and exciting. Not quite the putting the cards into the giant machines, but back in the day where you were programming traffic light programs and so on. And I've had rich and magical histories in banking and finance and strategic planning and strategic business on my dad's side. And then my mum was in HR and so on. And then there was me who was like, I would like to do the singing and the dancing thing. But I think my love of the arts must have come from my grandmother a little bit, because she was a very artsy, creative, hands-on kind of person. And I do remember like one of my earliest, everyone always asks, like, what was your first theatre show? I don't know, but I do have a crystallizing moment of either I was somewhere between age 7 and 11, and we were at the Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance, and my grandmother is heckling after Cat Like Tread as they do the encore, one more, one more. And she was a young, hip, groovy grandma, and she was like, one more. And I think, like, my brain's saying it's John English, but I've looked it up. It couldn't have been John English. Like, the timing was all wrong. But like the guy playing the Pirate King was like, why? What do you want? Stop it. Like, he was just yelling that. And I just remember the joy and the escapism. And, you know, I think my first, I have such beautiful memories of like sitting on her floor, watching VHSs of shows, and like, so Cats, contentious, I know, but watching like the VHS 10th anniversary concert, Elaine Page, Cats on my grandmother's floor. It just came, and I was like, I love this. And I think my parents were like, nah. I know that I was very interested in ballet as well then, and I thought it was very beautiful and graceful and lovely, and I thought it was the best, and I wanted to be a ballerina. I'm not sure, my parents were looking at me going, yeah, this chunky little thing ain't going to be a ballerina. But I remember ending up in gymnastics until a girl kicked out my front 2 teeth.
Oh, jeez. Fun
fact, it wasn't the first time I'd lost my front 2 teeth. That was the second. And then I think in high school, I remember it was seeing Phantom of the Opera at about 12 or 13 in like the big professional production. Was at the matinee, and they go, Anthony Warlow will not be performing, and all the old mums like, no. I remember seeing that and went, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to be on like that. That was the moment. This is the moment. Wrong Anthony Warlow, but it'll do. That I went theatre, and then the next one was Priscilla, and I was like, good Lord, I want to be in this. And I remember my mum turned to me and said, but you're not a man in a dress. I kind of was like, well, I could be. You know? And just from there, like this love of theatre bloomed, doing the school productions. But I remember my parents pulling me out of the school musical in my final year of college, school. What do you call it what do you call it in Canada? In Australia, we just call it like year 12 or final year. In England, they call it A levels, maybe. What's it called in Canada?
If it's grade 12,
high
it's
school?
the 12th year. Yeah, it's high school from grade for
the last year before you go to university or college or whatever. I remember them pulling me out of Jesus Christ Superstar, because they were like, no, you don't have time for this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you're already doing all the things. You're doing everything. And I was like, yeah, but I want to. So, and then somewhere around early 20s, my friends had started a theatre company and so on. I went, oh, you know, I love being on the stage, except it's like, it's all right. It's like, I love it, but I'm not getting a solo. I had crippling stage fright as well. I was like, I can sing, can't really dance. And then I kind of went, oh, but I'm pretty good at communications and marketing. And that's what I was doing for a job. And I just finished my degree and was like, okay, well, why don't I help do that in the arts? And all of a sudden I was doing that on top of a job. And eventually when I moved to England, I made it my career.
Nice. And it's people like
I'm still the black sheep. I'll never lose it. They're like, who are you? What do you want? I don't know. I'm not adopted though, I promise.
But it's people like yourself that I love speaking with, the behind the scenes heroes, the people in theater that don't get the respect or the acknowledgement. You know, you see the people on stage, everyone loves them. You see the people who write the shows, everyone loves them. But you know what? Without the backstage people, the painters, the marketing, the show doesn't go on. And I believe that you don't get the respect and the acknowledgement you deserve. And that's why I love having people like yourself on to give them the respect they deserve. So,
but I mean, I think for me, it's not always been about wanting the respect or the what. I
Mhm.
just want to help, because I think I worked out that I'm very good at a lot of things, but they're not the performing.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote a jukebox musical that one time, in that I rearranged the songs of Meatloaf to I don't know what, and I wouldn't say it's better than Bat Out of Hell, but it had a storyline.
Okay.
No, Jim Steinman is a legend. How dare I? But you know, I can't do what they do, but what I can do is help them do the other things, or the bits they don't want to, or the bits they don't know how to. And so I think I got into producing though, because I went, I'm the marketing girl, or I'm the comms girl.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all these decisions were being made about shows and so on. And I wanted to be I was in the room where it happens. Like I was watching, I was basically, it's like a lot of producers, we discover we've already been doing the job of producing for a very long time. And I basically was doing all the work of like an associate or a producer
Mhm.
and not getting the credit for it. But then also when you're making decisions that I would like to have been a part of, because I'd like you to bring the marketing and audience development journey in before you decide on the show. So when you decide to do the Australian premiere of High Fidelity, like had we done the full journey and so on, had we worked out, you know, we came up with this beautiful poster concept, but had we thought about, will that resonate with audiences, or did we just go, let's make it bright yellow because it will stand out? Like had we gone through the full journey and decisions and processed in order to ensure that we were putting on a show in an area, in a market, in a demographic that had demand? And look, it went well in the end, but I decided that I really wanted to be part of making those decisions. And then, okay, well, I don't even have to make the decisions, but can I help everything run a bit better? Because I think, as you said, like it's being the cog in the machine, but you do at the end of the day make something beautiful or spectacular or striking or emotional. Like you are part of the machine that makes that beautiful 90-minute to 2.5-hour escape from reality, or the mirror onto society with song and dance, or just song, or any format. You get to help build that. That's like, is it the greatest gift going around? Yeah, probably. Like I feel incredibly fortunate to have ended up how I did and where I've gotten. And it was mostly just about going, can I help? Can I help? And then working my butt off. But it's just about trying to help others do what they do well by doing what I do well, to do the thing.
Yep. For sure. And thank you for doing your thing.
I just always want to be on the thanks page. Everyone's like, oh, I want to be a producer. And I go, well, I want to see new work come to life, and I want to help like get it to a stage where it's able to stand on its feet, or to be successful, whatever you define success as. And I go, I don't need to be at the above the title producer or holding a Tony. I mean, that would be fun, but I just want to be on the thanks page. Like, I just want to get that, oh, you know, thank you too, or like on the back page where all those people who've helped support it. That's just where I want to be, because I help do the thing.
Yep.
I know that maybe as I grow, that will change, or I will be like, pay me.
Yeah.
You know, and if I can get paid for the time that I work, but not above or beyond, or just like, or support it for that. But at the end of the day, I kind of go, did I help? Did I enjoy it? Did I learn? I'm at a stage where I do mostly take projects where I either love the show and the people, or I want to work with the people, or I get paid a little bit, or I get paid eventually, or I just want to be involved, or I learn something. So I give as much as I get back.
Yeah.
But I'd rather help the thing happen. So everyone's got a day job. How lucky was I that my day job ended up being in development for new musicals for 2 years? Like it's been brilliant.
So you moved from Australia to England. What differences do you find between the Australian and the UK theater scene, or is there not that much of a difference? And theater's theater.
I wish I could say there wasn't much of a difference. I think it's a completely different ballpark, playing field, sector, size, scope, scale, training, everything. But I think if we think about, okay, well, Australia might be 100 years, 300 years, 500 years younger than the UK, sure. But in the way that the Australian market works, our art is predominantly Broadway replica shows, like West End. It's the major titles. And I think that's because we have a number of really great houses, but we don't have a lot of them. So I moved to England and I live in London. There's like 51 West End houses.
Yeah.
We don't even have 51 main stages in Australia that I know of. And I'm always ready to be wrong, or for someone to say, actually, you've forgotten this off the list. But, you know, I'm from Melbourne, and from Melbourne, we have the kind of I think we've got 4 main stages in the main drag. Then we've got the supplementary stages. You've got the gig theatres, you've got the arts centre, and then you've got the smaller stuff. Whether they're commercial or supported by government or non-profit, but we don't have the same mass of available venues in order to bring more shows. And so if we don't have enough available venues to bring more shows, do we have the space to support new writing and new development? And, you know, we do new plays and so on, but in England, there's such an incredible pipeline for the writing of new plays and new works, which the sector here feel, you know, and now let's build a similar repository for new musicals and so on. But, you know, musicals being the most collaborative art form, they also, of course, have the most moving parts or the most complex. They don't have to be, but they could be. And I just find that there's just a lot more going on here. But that, I think that's also a tribute to the thriving kind of cultural sector that's built on tourism, that's built on the UK as a whole is a really thriving cultural sector across every art form. But then you've got the support and the body of Arts Council England that is either subsidising through regular funding or through project grants. And then you've got the independents and you've got the commercials, you've got the links to the rest of the world. So you can just zip over to New York or to Canada or to Europe, and it's not far. And Australia is my commute door to door is about 33 and a half hours. And you go, okay, that's a long way. Yeah. We're so far away, but then, you know, our audiences are still developing. Our education is developing. We've gone through a lot of the similar political changes over the years with the UK. I think around the world, there's been a shift about how much funding is given to arts education around the world, and that it is going backwards, not forwards. And I think for me, and I think there's a bit of a cyclical problem when you talk about the development of new works or new musicals or different things, we have a bit of a less appetite for risk, because there's no space for risk, because we go, well, there's 4 main houses on the main drag. Okay, well, one of them's got Harry Potter sat down in it for quite a long time. There's just a lot less. It doesn't mean it's less quality. There's just a lot of less, it's a smaller playing field, but our fringes are vibrant and thriving across Australia. But we're also a hugely sporting country, but we're also a gigantic country. We're a richly multicultural country in some places. And then we have the widest political landscape as well. And it's a little bit like the Wild West of Canada and the US and the UK and everything all rolled into one. It's a completely different ballpark, but we have such rich connections or developing connections to the Asian Pacific market and with New Zealand. And then you've got the UK that you just go, it's a thriving cultural mecca. It's just different. Yeah. And I've had the pleasure of being back and forth for 3.5 years and working across both, and working across global fringe festivals or on new works or female-led work or a bit of everything. And it is such a privilege to get to do all of this. I hope that wherever I go, I'm useful, but then I can share, like, what is Australia doing, or what is the UK doing, or what did I learn from NAMPT in America and Canada last week, or just bringing in, I just think there's this opportunity for us to all be a bit more globally networked in the world of Zoom. Like, I'm in London and you're in Toronto.
I'm in Toronto, yes.
Toronto. You know, like, there's this global world of Zoom now where we can do anything, and you go, okay, it's not the same, but maybe if we all linked up a bit more, like, we can all support each other. And for me, it's all about working together and not in opposition. And when you've got such a small playing field in Australia, it just seems a bit harder. We've got a cultural phenomenon of one of our leading producers about 5-6 years ago said to mid-career or like early emerging artists and performers, like, go overseas, there's no market for you here. There's no jobs. We still live in a world where Greece is on tour for the 4th time with B-C-list Australian celebrities, because we don't have the same risk-taking appetite. We want to see things that are considered commercial successes continue to create money. And we do need to do that to establish the art form and the audiences to go, you do want to see this show, you do want to come to the theatre. But with less going around, the ticket price is higher, the demand for other things is higher. It's just a completely different ecology. And then you come to the UK and go, well, everything's cheaper because it's supply and demand. Everything's cheaper because there's way more of it. It's more competitive. And I could just zip to New York for a weekend on Broadway and see things where it's different again because of the commercial rent market. And it's been such a joy to just sit here and learn all around the world, though.
Yeah,
I love it. I can't think of doing anything else for forever.
it's funny.
It's the best.
I've talked with other Australian artists and producers and things like that. And Canada and the UK and Australia are very similar in so many regards. We're all children of the UK. It's funny. The US, Australia, and Canada, all children of the UK. The US, we're a little more rebellious in the way they do things.
And leave them over there. Like they're sort of like the middle child, except not really. And we're, Canada and Australia are like great cousins, but could we do more together? Sure. We're very far away from each other, but it's a similar culture. I think I've been to Quebec.
That's a whole different
Montreal, which is a whole different culture again, but I'd never heard of such an Australian culture of the way that Montreal was founded and Australia was founded, of all of our send our sinners elsewhere kind of mentality. I was like, aha, I'm home. And je parle un peu français. So, lovely. Poutine for everyone. But I really think that there's so much to explore in Canada that one day I hope to get to. Like, I know it's a beautiful place, and learning more about all of the different theatres and how everyone's working with things like the NAMT conference and the work you're doing has just been awesome.
Thank you. We're
like great cousins, but everyone forgets us. But we're lovely and we'll help anyone.
It's so true. It's so true. So you were, how did you get involved with Mercury Musicals? Let's start there, because they do a lot of stuff. So tell us about that.
So I worked for, they're kind of like, the best explanation is like the British NAMT, except not really or not at all. But I worked for Mercury Musical Developments and Musical Theatre Network, who are legally two bodies but operate in consortium to support the sector of new musicals and development and resources and sharing and ideas across the United Kingdom. And I think I first heard of them because I was running a project called the Ceiling Project, which was trying to work out whether we could make 15-minute, 20-minute mini musicals, like little capsule pieces, almost like a podcast musical, but not quite, in 2019. And they were all written by women or non-binary identifying creatives with women-centric or non-binary identifying stories. And I think I got involved because we all wanted to create work, and one of my team members was part of Musical Theatre Network and kind of introduced me to that and said, we can promote it to this newsletter which goes out every week, which is all about new musicals. I'm like, oh, cool. And I think my producing partner at the time was like, oh, I've joined up, I'm a student, I've got a student membership. I was like, cool, great. And then eventually I got sick of being like, can you forward me the newsletter every week? I want to read it. I was like, I better join up too. And I think I was sitting in Australia early 2020, first solo producing proper project of my life had blown up in my face, and I was working in an art gallery for money in hand, and the email came out that they were looking for a new membership and communications manager. And I went, oh yeah, I'd be pretty good at that. Lo and behold, here I am. So I was back in the UK. I was at the Garrick Theatre to see City of Angels the night they turned everyone away and said, go home. Bojo has just said, don't go to the theatre if you don't have to. And I'd done my 2 interviews, and I think I'd found out that maybe I'd gotten the job. And that was when Beam 2020 was supposed to happen, which is the UK's biannual showcase of new musical theatre work across the country. I think there were 41 new musicals programmed. It was going to be at Royal and Derngate in Northampton, and I'd had my tickets. I was ready to go. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll be there as a team member, not an audience member. And the week I got the job was the week we had to postpone or cancel said event. And it was a weird week because I went into the interview and said, should we be devising some lovely like foot choreography to say hello? Like, you know, oh, should we do a little hot shoe shuffle to say hello and like not hug? Because musical theatre people, we're huggers if you'll let us.
Yep.
So I started the job from home in April 2020 and worked there for just on 2 years. I've just finished up just 2-3 weeks ago after 2 years in post in probably the most complex and challenging time that the company's ever faced to support the sector through COVID and everything else. And part of that time I worked for 8 months from Australia nocturnally. And, you know, it's been an adventure, but it's been such a joy to meet so many amazing people. And that's how I kind of learned about NAMT in the US and started going to the conferences online and have discovered you and your magical tweets and the podcast and everything. And, you know, we all meet on Twitter, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how, you know, we all get involved and discover all the things. And, you know, I can tell you that my Spotify top played is just new musicals. Or musicals in general. It's borderline embarrassing at this point, but it's wonderful. And it's kind of now ended up to the point where I've gone, I started a business degree in 2020 as well, but at an art school. So I'm doing an MBA, a Master's of Business Administration. And now what I'm studying and interrogating is the business models of new musicals, musical theatre support around the world, and how a new musical is funded and made around the world. And what if, you know, if you have these wonderful advocacy bodies like Mercury Musicals, Musical Theatre Network, NAMT, Musical Theatre Radio, you know, what is the business model of doing this advocacy? And if we wanted to kind of replicate these models elsewhere to new markets or to build something in Australia, and there's some brilliant programs going on in Australia to go, how can we all kind of network, connect to that up, learn from each other and create a strong pipeline or a support or a community for all of this. And so now I'm just kind of plotting my next move as I head back to Australia, and I'm writing up my dissertation and going to conferences on my computer and working out what's next. Wow. But I've met some of the most amazing people through working with MMD, and I couldn't love that time more. But it's complex. It's very similar to NAMT. It's a small team, and you're lifting a sector up, and it's mind-boggling the amount of work that a lot of these bodies will do for, you know, they're not-for-profit bodies or they're charities. They don't get a lot back in return other than the sentiment, the feeling like they have helped, and it's brilliant. Yeah.
It's funny that like NAMT and like you said with Mercury and the network, it's like Wizard of Oz. Don't look behind the curtain, because you see it's all this great stuff. You never know what's going on, and it's only a couple of you, right, running everything, and it's incredible what you can do.
We worked out, you know, our team was 3.7 people between the two companies, because you had our executive director of Musical Theatre Network, James, who's full-time for the one body. Yeah. Then you've got on the Mercury musical side, you've got 3 of us, but none of us are full-time. And I was the only person who was blessed, cursed, gifted to work for both bodies. But that means that I work 2.5 days for each. And you go, the amount of things that they pull together.
Yes.
NAMP's team is about 5 or 6 core staff and then extra people around. Yeah. Like, it's incredible, but it is exactly that. Like, don't look behind the curtain. You'll just find it's me going gray and ripping my hair out going, I need to do more. Like, I think in these bodies, there's never enough hours in the day, and you'll never feel the job is done, because you could just keep going and helping and supporting and cheering and championing until you drop. It's tiring, but it's so rewarding. It's magical work.
Yeah, what we do for love, not necessarily money, right?
And often we have day jobs or freelance gigs, but to want to get out of bed and to love it and do it and to surround yourself with other people who love the art form or the space, or who want to be creative, it's a gift. Yeah, it's a joy. It's the best.
There are days though that you just go, oh, what am I doing? Right. Every job has that, whether you love it or hate it. There's you can only love a job like 99%. I tell people that, there's no way I can love this 100%. There are days I'd rather be sitting on my couch eating popcorn and watching a movie than, working on music.
Of course, and I think that probably the kind of the 33-day streak of no days off between, studying, but also full-time work around the lead up to Beam 2021, which was our hybrid one.
Yeah.
I didn't take a day off for, I think, nearly a month.
Yep.
And I think I was sitting there going, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. And I did. And I was like, I feel useful, I'm doing stuff. But then I was like, all right, it's 8 a.m. You're already at your desk doing meetings.
Yeah.
You blink, it's 4 a.m. You're still trying to edit the pre-recorded footage. And you're like, I have to get up again at 8 a.m. And it's those moments where you go, I know I'm making a difference, but I am very, very tired.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of managing 4 incredible production assistants who were student placements. And it's, if managing other people's a full-time job, and yet I go, I could have more. And the work would never be done because we were like, we can do more because we love it.
Yep.
That is a gift though, to do something that you love.
Yeah.
And if you get paid something.
For sure. But there are those days where I look at my fiance and go, 9 to 5, huh? 5 days a week, pension. Oh, that would be so nice sometimes. Like steady paycheck. What's that like? Like all this stuff.
I've done that. I look back on all the days where I worked for the government in construction in Australia, in roads and transportation management and rail services. And I go, okay, all right, I made more money. Okay, I got to clock off. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I love it? No. Was it something I did? Yeah. Was I good at it? Yeah. I used to work then I made the big bucks working in construction. I never clocked off because suddenly I worked for the private firm and not the government side on government projects. And people would ring me at 3 o'clock in the morning yelling at me about train track works an hour from my house. So I was like, what would you like me to do? I'm going to ring the project manager, but I can tell you it's not me because I know what's going on. It's the same kind of backbreaking work that I go, okay, I make a third, less than what I used to, but I actually want to get out of bed and do it, and I fall asleep content or exhausted or thinking more about all the things I could do, but I want to do it. And there's such fulfillment in helping others in that sense, and pointing to the musicals you love and go, oh, I helped a little bit, or I didn't, or I just loved it, or I gave them my money, or I listened to the soundtrack on Spotify 100 million times to give them 0.03 pence per play, but I love it. I'm helping. It just feels good.
Yeah. So
you could throw all the money at it.
So over your time, over your time at Mercury and the Music Network and Beam, was there any shows that you discovered that you just fell in love with that people should know about?
Tokyo Rose.
Okay, I play that one.
Have you played that one?
I played it on the station, yeah.
I loved it. There were so many, but the first one that leaps to mind immediately, because my poor little ADHD brain is singing hot off the press in there already. Yeah. Definitely Tokyo Rose. Pretty much everything that Charlie Eglinton has ever written. Charlie is 21, 22 now. 10 new musicals. 10. It's ridiculous. But to be someone who can write music, lyrics, book, then self-produce all your cast albums and have some amazingly talented mates to sing it, she and I joke about it all the time, but am I the biggest Charlie fan girl? Oh yeah. Is she one of my top played artists of Spotify 3 years running? Yes. Am I embarrassed to admit it? Yes, but I'm going to tell everyone. There's shows I've had the pleasure of working on. There's shows that I've watched, that I've seen, that I've loved, soundtracks, everything. There is so much happening across the Northern Hemisphere that you go, I'm so excited. There's things coming out of Australia, we'll get there. Yeah. I'll claim Beetlejuice as an Australian musical. I'll claim it.
Sure.
Matilda, But I think that'll bring us to a much longer conversation about the identity of creatives in musical theatre. But there is so much. It's the one thing I hate people asking me is like, what's your favorite musical? And I go, oh, okay, so you don't work in the arts. Are you ready for my 2-hour PowerPoint presentation about why there is not one, but about 15, and it changes at any given moment?
Yeah.
I think one of the most special ones that's just finished up though would be Broken Wings, which has just finished up with Charing Cross in its first like fully professional staging.
Yes.
And that it's got all of the grandeur and the spectacle and the big orchestrations of those 70s and 80s Andrew Lloyd Webber style big Phantom of the Opera scores, but has the like woven in music and culture of the Middle East and of Lebanon, and tells a diverse storytelling, and it's entirely MENA, so Middle Eastern and North African kind of community and cast, and it feels like such a hallmark of the diversity and the potential and the shift, but yet still has so many harkbacks to the golden greats or the mega musical era. Oh, it was special. And I got to work on just a tiny piece of it in working with some of the fundraising and so on. And you just look at it and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I could list them for days. You could have a whole podcast called Ellen Tells You About All the Musicals She Likes, and it would never end. It would never end. I've only just seen Urinetown for the first time.
Oh.
The podcast would never end. And it would be great. You know? I'm so excited for everything that comes next though. Like there's so much more. There are so many talented people.
Yeah.
I loved that. So on the recent workshop that you hosted for Musical Theatre Radio and with all the people in your beautiful digital theatre, I discovered an Australian who I was like, hello, your work sounds fabulous. And that was, I've forgotten the name, but Earl.
Oh my God, Earl Marrows.
So it's Earl, and it's about the cheerleading.
Yep,
and
for show.
Yep. And I was like, oh, hello, Earl, how have we not met yet? Earl and I share many mutual friends. I used to live with half of his classmates. Like it just, they always say that every Australian, like certainly in the UK and in London, every Australian in theatre knows each other or is like 1 degree of connection away. Well, turns out all of Tish as well. And, you know, it's so exciting to make those connections and to chat and to go, wow, we know the same people, or you're having this great idea. Like, I can't wait to see all these shows come to life. I just hope that they get as much chance or support to what they need. And that's where I know that the landscape is still competitive and difficult. And that's where the work I've been doing and want to keep doing is about just helping lift them up to, you know, if success can be defined as you live to do it again, no matter how you define that, like you haven't lost your house or your livelihood and you can do it again, or you can keep learning, or you can keep loving it, then we just keep going. Like, I think that's all I strive for in this space. It's the best.
And that's what my radio station was for. It was to help, you know, bring people up, bring more eyes, bring more ears to these shows. Are they all going to succeed? No, but that's a fact of life. But you know what? They won't have a chance to succeed if nobody knows about them. So if I can give them a platform to just get one, and all you need is that one pair of ears or pair of eyes on the show who knows somebody, they want to do it.
Well, this is great, or this is quirky, or I like this, or this, or it inspires someone else to go, oh, well, if musical theatre can be different, what if I've got an idea? Like, it's everything. Exactly. It's supporting an entire ecology and culture of culture and a support, and it's audience development. It's everything. So I can, big kudos to you. Like, do not edit this out. Kudos to you and your work. But it's about just globally going, or globally, or to each ecology and going, how can we help and support and lift up, or, you know, just chat about it and go, musical's great. What do you want to know? Or I say it's a musical. If you say it's a musical, a little bit, I think it's probably going to have the characters singing, or the singing being part of the narrative, driving the storyline. If I took the songs out and it's still a thing, it's not a musical, but that's it. But if you say it's a musical and it's new and you love it, all right, great, I believe you. Now what, how can I help? It's just, it's creative, it's magical. Like, there is no art form like it. There is no job like it. Nothing
out there. So what's next for Ellen? What's the future look like? What are you up to?
The future looks like going back to Australia at the end of my visa at present. and I'm finishing a dissertation. So specifically studying these business models of advocacy, supporting new musicals. My question being, if I was to try and build something for Australia, but what does Australia need in its arts and cultural economy? Does it need a NET or an MMD, MTN or a musical theatre radio? Or how do I go and share what I've learned and help others? Because I know there's so many great creatives in Australia as well. But it's also, I do a lot of work with fringe festivals as well. And, festivals that are just trying to lift up people and go, art is art if you say it's art, and let's, create platforms and develop audiences. I do a lot of work with Prague Fringe Festival, with Colchester Fringe Festival, with the World Fringe. I will go where it's exciting and it takes me, but I've got to go home and hug my mum because I didn't go home for Christmas, and I've got to go hug my family. And I've been living in and out of boxes for 4 years. So it's time to go and sort myself out and, see friends and family and maybe have a rest. Nah, boring. Maybe have a little rest. And then work out what's next. I'm so lucky to still be working on 2 really amazing new musicals in the UK and on festivals, and I just want to keep helping people from wherever I end up and doing the thing. And if I can help to share what I've learned in Australia or keep working for other places here, running some more workshops with you, perhaps, anything. It's just so exciting. But I've got a whole lot of little kids who call me auntie to hug, and Easter to eat Easter eggs, and Christmas I've missed, and COVID catching up to do, and then finishing this huge piece of research, and then working out what's next and talking to people, helping if I can. I want to keep wearing shiny shoes and just helping out, doing the musical thing.
Well, congratulations on all that you've done. And thank you for your support of musical theaters.
Always.
And what you've done is fantastic.
Joy.
And we're looking forward to.
And thank you for your support. The radio and the recent workshop you ran was absolutely divine. And thank you to NAMPT for putting on the hybrid conference, and for MMD and MTN, and to Beam for letting me work there, and everyone who's let me help or observe or have taught me or have let me contribute. Thank you. It's a collaborative art form. I wouldn't be here without all the people who've helped me and I've helped. And so it's just a bit, I want to pay that forward. I say I've got, I'm a theatre mum. I've got some little theatre babies. Well, now I've got the theatre grandbabies because, they're even younger. And it's just about going, how can we help and how can we support? And while we want to change everything, we want to change the world, like there's been such a rich cultural history of how we got here. And now it's, what do we want to see in the future?
For sure.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to help if I can.
That's fantastic. Now, before we go, I always ask 3 questions of my guests.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answers, but some people judge people on them.
Go for it.
Not me, of course, not me.
I mean, the one question that got me in my interview was, what's your favorite Sondheim? And I just kind of stared at everyone. I think James from Musical Network was like, what's your favorite Sondheim? And I just looked at him as if I'd forgotten every Sondheim under the sun, and then kind of stammered out, well, Sweeney Todd, of course. And then I was like, actually, the correct answer was Sunday in the Park with George, if you just cut most of Act 2 out. Get out of the chroma loop. Judge me if you want. Is it going to be as hard as those?
Depends. It's only as hard as you make them. Like, I'm gonna throw you an easy one to begin with, though. This is easy-ish. Okay. So, question 1: what creator or team within musical theater has had a great influence on you? Could be a composer, lyricist, director, producer, actor, even stage manager. Could be somebody famous or not famous, like a teacher, maybe. Is there somebody in musical theater who's had a good influence on you?
There are 2, and they're both going to kill me, and I'm going to dob them right in. One is Katie Whitson and Aria Entertainment. Mm-hmm. Katie is one of the strongest, fiercest, most passionate advocates. It doesn't matter how hard things get or how busy she is, she just keeps going. And she is such an inspiration to me. She is going to kill me for this. That's fine. I don't care. Such a passionate advocate, such a supporter. Yeah. She's always doing something. She's always trying to do something. And she's built a model she's built a business. She's built a team. She's built support and championed so many things. And the other one who will also kill me, but I sort of met them together, is Tanya Azevedo, who's a Australian Portuguese director who's currently directing But I'm a Cheerleader in Turbine Theatre, as well as And Juliet at the Shaftesbury as the associate director. She's worked on Heathers. She and I have been working on a musical called Deptford Wives with an amazing team for so long. And they're just such passionate but kind and caring, giving creatives who go, let's have a chat, or I will be here for you personally as well. And also, I mean, I have to throw him in here, my beloved James Baker, who we're working on getting a musical up at the moment that's been just brewing in his head for 10, 11 years or so on. And now I'm trying to go, how do I help you make this happen? But it's finding those creatives that you go, I want to work with you as well as your ideas and those people. But there are so many. I mean, the team at MMD and MTM have been absolutely integral for the last few years. So it's just, there are too many to name, but there's 3 and some companies.
Nice. Well, all correct.
The whole podcast was called All of the People That Ellen Love and have supported and have helped her. You know, you could have that too.
All correct. 1 point. See, nice and easy to begin with. Nice and simple.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, question number 2. You spoke about your love of rainbows at the beginning. Why do you love rainbows so much?
I love color and brightness and fun, and just everyone kind of smiles. Like I have an entire wardrobe of like rainbow kind of clothing and so on. And everyone kind of smiles when you're like, oh, you're so bright and brilliant. And there's a little bit of the, you make your own rainbows and happiness and sunshine that you bring. You know, it's a gloomy day, you wear a rainbow, you be fine, you be proud, you be magical. I'm an ally, it's magical, you know. But I also just go, color is fun and brilliant, and it's where creativity lives, in between all the lines and the coloring in, and I just find it so much fun. The other thing I do is a big earring game. Big, shiny, magical, glittery, fun, fabulous, everything. And I just go, well, that's just fun. And other people seem to be like, oh my God, that's so much fun. Like they take as much as I go, look at me, you can't ignore me, I am rainbow. You know, my family love me, but they didn't know what to do with me. So I'm going to get even more colorful. No, of course not. This isn't therapy time, Ellen. No, I just love it. I love color. I love just bringing that brightness. And if you go, it's gloomy, but I'm wearing a rainbow, then you are someone else's rainbow too.
Nice.
Do you really ask everyone else about how much they love rainbows? Or just me?
Just you. I sometimes do. I personalize my questions. You know.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I look forward to someone who is like, yes, I dress extremely monochromatic. And you're like, why do you love rainbows? Because you do, as you should.
Question number 2 is another point. So you've got 2 for 2 so far. So very nice. So question number 3. You've been around the world. You said you've visited different places. You've been to the UK, the Australia, obviously. You said Singapore and a bunch of other places. Where's the next hot spot for musical theater to watch out for? What do you think is an up and coming country to go, you know, watch out for what they do?
It's not even up and coming, but it's South Korea.
Okay.
It has to be South Korea. And it's not that they're up and coming. They're actually an extremely successfully established market, audience, culture, campaigning. But if you think about the cultural and revolutionary power of, yes, I Am Army, of BTS and so on, but the cultural capital that the K-pop and J-pop and the kind of K-heavy metal magic, but so I think it's called, it's either Icon or Iconic is a K-pop musical that's now coming to the UK and that everyone is very excited about. But they have a thriving, you know, I think it's the Daegu International Musical Theatre Festival. It's 16 years of it. It's as old as Goodspeed's Festival. But we just don't seem to be talking about it enough. But we are, and a lot of people know that it's a thing. And I think obviously there may be a language barrier or not, but the way that if you see that the most influential cultural icon in the world right now is BTS, then you must think like they got a United Nations Peace Award. Like there is power in those cultural influences. And I think that there's just the amount of music and creativity, and they write a really, really good tune. They're such bops. Like, you can't help but feel kind of magical when you're listening to K-pop and you're having a great time. I think there's a huge market there. I have watched about half of Annie in Korean in the foyer of their national theatre, I think, in Seoul, on my 13-hour whistle stopover in Seoul on one of my many commutes from London to Australia.
Yeah.
No idea what was happening. Sold out house. They were loving it. I was like, this is great. Like, yes. In the pandemic, the one houses that didn't seem to close, South Korea. They closed first. They reopened first. Yeah. At one point, there was only one person playing Christine in the world. That was an Australian woman on tour in Phantom. You know, Cats has just done a massive tour of. They have such an appetite and an audience for it. And I think the Asia Pacific, all of Asia kind of region, they love arts and culture. They love musicals. There's such an opportunity for cultural exchange or for more work. And I think it was very interesting last year, the NEMT Festival, Beam 2021, and the DIMF, the Daegu International Music Festival, were all kind of broadcast as well on things like Broadway On Demand. And that's where you go, we're creating global connections to share the art form, which is creating global audiences for musicals. That is brilliant. I cannot wait to see what we come up with next. More. But also, please, everyone, rest, support, drink water. If I won't do it, you will. But more, like, let's all work together. It's just brilliant.
Another correct answer. You 3 for 3 on the questions.
What would I have to say to get it wrong?
Nothing.
Nowhere. Mars. Moon. Are musicals about space? Do we need more?
More musicals about space? We could have more musicals about space.
We don't have musicals about space. Next minute, non-stop musicals about all of the Apollo missions.
Galactica? Is time about space? Starmites?
Oh God, what's that cult film? I'll think of it. I'll yell it out at some point. Okay. It sounds like Galactica, but it's got a "but" in it. Barbarella. Was that about space or about aliens? Sort of.
Well, it's still technically. I don't know.
Sort of.
Maybe.
Is We Will Rock You about space? No, it's about the future. No.
We Will Rock You? No, that's about.
Hang on. What's the one that's like We Will Rock You, but not We Will Rock You? Not Rock of Ages.
Forbidden Planet. Return to the Forbidden Planet.
Maybe I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Okay, so we've got some musicals about space.
Yeah, well, there's stuff up there.
What's your top topic that's going to be the next topic that musicals are about if it's not space? What do you think? There's a gap in the market to make musicals about.
And I have an idea about this, and I haven't fully fleshed it out.
Oh, well then
I have my own.
You don't have to share it if you.
I'm okay. It's an open market. Horror musicals. That I think. Taking because we got Sweeney Todd. You just don't have that. You got all the other stuff. But
I know someone's working on one. Was there a Frankenstein musical, and they've done a movie and they've done a development? I think it's into Eric.
I'm talking real
gore horror.
I'm talking psycho. I'm talking more like
The Woman in Black, the musical.
Like terrifying. Japanese spiritual Ringu, that type with with like, and okay, I'm gonna give it away anyways, like with magic, where people levitate and things like that. Like
House Moving Castle isn't horror, but are we ready for like manga and anime musicals?
There's tons of those coming out. I read articles about those coming, they're writing
brilliant.
Them, so. And
I don't think that's where you go, it's the next hotspot or emerging market. It's just that we're not aware of all of the brilliant talent that's happening, and let's all become aware of it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's so much horror stuff out there to discover.
Horror musicals.
Yeah. Let's
do it.
That's what I've already got that in my head. I just got the flesh of it. So. Watch in the next 10 to 40 years for it to happen.
You called it, anytime in the next century, you called it. You heard it here first.
Yep. That's what I'll be known for. Ellen, thank you so much for coming on the show, talking to us, introducing the world to you and everything that you've done. So thank you
for having me.
No problem.
So it's always so lovely to just chat about musicals.
For sure.
How good are musicals?
All right. We were just speaking with Ellen Burgin here on Be Our Guest on Musical Theater Radio. Tune in next week as we'll speak with another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Jovanov. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.